And US President Donald Trump dialed Prime Minister Narendra Modi for a telephonic conversation on Wednesday. The call comes just hours before Trump's scheduled meet with Pakistani Army Chief General Asim Munir at the White House. Now, during the 35-minute phone call, Prime Minister Modi informed the US President that India's counter-terrorism Operation Sindoor is ongoing. Also underlined that India will not accept any mediation on Pakistan. The US President expressed his support for India's fight against terrorism. Trump also accepted an invitation to attend the next Quad meeting in India. Prime Minister Modi was expected to meet President Trump at the G7 summit in Canada, but the US President left the summit early. Subsequently, at President Trump's request, the two leaders spoke over the phone. Prime Minister Modi briefed President Trump on Operation Sindoor, detailed the events of May 6th and 7th when India launched precision strikes targeting terrorist hideouts in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Prime Minister Modi told Trump that India's actions were measured, precise and non-escalatory. Briefing reporters on the conversation as well, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri said Prime Minister Modi told President Trump that India would respond to Pakistan's bullets with shells.
प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने कहा कि 6-7 मई की रात को भारत ने पाकिस्तान और पाकिस्तान ऑक्युपाइड कश्मीर में सिर्फ आतंकी ठिकानों को ही निशाना बनाया था। भारत के एक्शन बहुत ही मेजर्ड, प्रिसाइज और नॉन एस्केलेटरी थे। साथ ही भारत ने यह भी स्पष्ट कर दिया था कि पाकिस्तान की गोली का जवाब भारत गोले से देगा।
Now, the Prime Minister also recalled his phone conversation with Vice President Vance on the 9th of May, during which Vance had warned of a possible major attack by Pakistan. The Indian Prime Minister categorically stated to President Trump that there was no discussion or involvement of the United States in any mediation efforts and that India has never accepted nor will it ever accept third-party mediation in matters concerning Pakistan.
प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप को स्पष्ट रूप से कहा कि इस पूरे घटनाक्रम के दौरान कभी भी किसी भी स्तर पर भारत अमेरिका ट्रेड डील या अमेरिका द्वारा भारत और पाकिस्तान के बीच मध्यस्थता जैसे विषयों पर बात नहीं हुई थी। सैन्य कार्रवाई रोकने की बात सीधे भारत और पाकिस्तान के बीच दोनों सेनाओं की एग्जिस्टिंग चैनल्स के माध्यम से हुई थी और पाकिस्तान के ही आग्रह पर हुई थी।
Now, this was the first phone call between the two leaders since the April 22nd Pahalgam terror attack, when President Trump had called Prime Minister Modi to express condolences and voice support against terrorism after the Pahalgam attack. Donald Trump had earlier claimed that the US helped mediate a ceasefire between India and Pakistan and that he had personally spoken to leaders of both nations to resolve their issues if they wanted to do trade with the US. The two leaders also touched on the Israel-Iran conflict and the war in Ukraine and stressed on the need for direct dialogue to restore peace. Furthermore, they discussed the strategic importance of the Quad alliance in the Indo-Pacific region as well.
इंडो-पैसिफिक क्षेत्र के संबंध में दोनों नेताओं ने अपने परिप्रेक्ष्य साझा किए और इस क्षेत्र में क्वाड की अहम भूमिका के प्रति समर्थन जताया। क्वाड की अगली बैठक के लिए प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप को भारत यात्रा का निमंत्रण दिया। राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप ने निमंत्रण स्वीकार करते हुए कहा कि वे भारत आने के लिए उत्सुक हैं।
For more on this, WION's Assistant Editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal, is joining us on the broadcast now. Siddhant, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we've been discussing the details that have been coming in for this all-important phone call that took place between Prime Minister Modi and US President Donald Trump. Siddhant, what can you tell us?
Well, important conversation between the two leaders. The first conversation since Operation Sindoor, India strikes on terror camps in Pakistan. And on the agenda, of course, was India highlighting how Pakistan has been supporter of terrorism. And if there are terror attacks in India, India will respond. And this is something that India undertook during Operation Sindoor. Now, essentially, there is another contentious issue that has arisen is Donald Trump repeatedly claiming that he was responsible for the ceasefire understanding between India and Pakistan. The Indian Prime Minister clearly told the US president that when it comes to any kind of mediation, third-party intervention between India and Pakistan, that is something that will not be accepted. That is a red line for India, and all India-Pakistan issue have to be resolved bilaterally. And this is the standard Indian policy since the Shimla Agreement was signed decades ago. Now, other than, of course, India-Pakistan conversation, there was focus on the ongoing war between Israel and Iran, the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, and of course Indo-Pacific, where the Indian Prime Minister has invited the US President for the Quad Summit. Now, all this conversation happening just hours before the US President Donald Trump and the Pakistani Field Marshal Asif Munir are going to hold talks. It will be a dinner conversation that will happen at the White House later today at 10:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. That's 1 o'clock local time in Washington. And clearly, just before those talks, Donald Trump took the initiative to speak to the Indian Prime Minister. This was a call at the initiative of the US President. In fact, the US President also proposed that the Indian Prime Minister should come to United States from Canada, but the Indian Prime Minister declined the request, saying that already his schedule is ready and he's going to Croatia. So all in all, an important conversation, one that of course reaffirms the strong partnership, but one that also highlights India's stance when it comes to terrorism, especially cross-border terrorism emanating from Pakistan.
All right, well, Siddhant, thank you so much for bringing us the latest on this. Of course, we've been discussing the details of this call. Thank you so much for joining us for now.